My name is Juan Raul Garza.
He came from nothing, the son of migrants working the fields from Mexico to Michigan. By 1990, Juan Raul Garza was a gangster of the first order.
The fancy clothes, the cowboy boots, you know, the black jeans, the gold chains. He was at the top of the chain in his world.
He had infiltrated the commercial trucking industry. He was connected to Mexican cartels. He owned his own aircraft and employed a crew of pilots.
He would fly deep into Mexico to bring back multi-hundred-kilo loads of marijuana.
He had stash houses all over the country, and he was making cash.
I know on one trip, one of his guys hid $700,000 in a vehicle and drove it into Mexico, and that was routine.
When bodies began showing up in Brownsville, Juan Raul Garza became a kingpin.
Any drug kingpin who in fact directly orders and/or commits a murder, they are able to receive the death penalty under federal law now.
In 1988, the U.S. Congress passed the Continuing Criminal Enterprise Statute, commonly known as the Federal Drug Kingpin Statute.
What our amendment does is provide for the death penalty for major drug dealers or traffickers.
We realized that this guy was probably going to fit the criteria for that law. It takes a series of drug loads and then to kill somebody in furtherance of that drug organization. And that's exactly what he was doing.
In early February 1992, the federal government resolved to take down Juan Garza.
We sat down, we formulated a game plan.
Put together 5 teams of 15 agents from different personnel. We had Brownsville PD, we had Cameron County Sheriff's Office, we had DPS, we had almost every law enforcement, federal, state, and local involved.
And there's 21 places that we wanted to search. We knew we had to do them all at once. So the only way to do this was with a huge operation. So we got to follow him in the days leading up to that raid.
They assigned an undercover detail to follow their man.
We had this huge team assembled, and we ran into a glitch. And the glitch was we couldn't find Juan.
We lost him. We had a tail on him, but we lost him.
I think that might have been a blessing in disguise.
That's what got Juan Garza the death penalty, is because he fled. Because we did not arrest him that day.
The U.S. Attorney's Office, led by Patterson, indicted Garza's henchmen and began looking for a witness who would testify against the boss.
Everybody thought that Juan Garza wasn't going to be caught, so they weren't afraid of him. They were all willing to rat on him at that point, and they all did.
Everybody decided to plead guilty.
All of his henchmen rolled over on him.
The government made deals with each and every one of them. Some of these individuals were even the triggermen that Mr. Garza allegedly used. All of them were given sweetheart deals.
He was gone, so they thought they would never have to testify. For months, it was very cold.
They kept tabs on the compound he'd built on the east side of town, near the southmost road and the northernmost encroachment of the Rio Grande.
Garza had 2 birth certificates. He had a Mexican and a U.S. So he could pass as a Mexican citizen. We figured he would just live down there forever.
Juan was right there, right across the river. You know, you could hit Matamoros, the city in across from Brownsville, with a rock. We knew he was starting all over again, but now from the Mexico side.
9 months after the raid, the men hunting Garza caught a break. He called one of his buyers, a drug dealer in Michigan, who was now cooperating with authorities.
We recorded the call. And Juan Garza told him, "I'm a fugitive over here, but I'm still doing business. Let's move another load."
The phone call led them to a location just across the river from Brownsville in Matamoros, Mexico.
We reached out to our contacts in Mexico, and we said, hey, we have this fugitive in your area. He's armed and dangerous. He's trafficking narcotics from there. We basically needed their help.
I remember a quote that a drug enforcement agency officer said to me in an unguarded moment. He said, "We only catch the stupid ones."
On November 6, 1992, Juan Garza was taken down by Mexican federal police while driving away from a drug cartel safe house. Agents Patriarca and Reich watched from a distance.
There was about 5 police units from Mexico with machine guns, and they had the situation under control. He was in custody.
Juan looked dazed. He couldn't believe what happened. I remember saying to John, this guy's gonna jump in the water. He said, if he does, I'm gonna jump in after him.
2 months later, the U.S. Attorney's Office leveled a new indictment against Garza based on testimony from his henchmen. He would be tried under the new Kingpin statute.
Although media covered it extensively, it was an extremely short trial, especially for capital cases.
In July of 1993, Juan Raul Garza was found guilty on 3 counts of murder and linked to 5 other deaths, all committed in the name of his gang. Garza became the first criminal tried under the Federal Anti-Drug Abuse Act as a kingpin.
I don't think we knew it existed until this case.
With a guilty verdict on all counts, the government pressed for the ultimate punishment.
I told the jury on final arguments, our community is known for being lawless. Our community is known for being corrupt. Our community is known for having a drug problem. But we can start to change that with this case. If we don't put him to death, somebody else someday is going to be dead. Even if you put him in prison for life, it won't stop him. He'll kill again.
Juan Raul Garza was sentenced to die by lethal injection for 3 drug-related murders.
Garza was set to be the first person put to death by the federal government since 1963. While awaiting his execution and filing appeals, the world began to change. As the federal priority turned slowly towards the war on terror, Garza and his family publicly begged for leniency.
I want to ask you if you can do me this huge favor and not give my dad the death penalty, because it really means a lot to me.
It seemed to work.
There was a stay granted by the Office of Pardons in the White House to study an allegation about racial discrimination.
Between 1995 and 2000, 80% of the defendants facing possible death sentences for their crimes were minorities.
And until we are certain of the fairness of the process, the government should not execute Juan Raul Garza.
Most of the jury was Hispanic, the judge was Hispanic, most of the witnesses were Hispanic.
The victims were Hispanic as well.
The evidence was so overwhelming, that wasn't going to change the facts.
If you give me one more chance here, I'll be very grateful, and I won't let you down.
Please be seated. Thank you.
When the 6-month stay was up, a new man was in the White House. President George W. Bush denied any further pardons for his fellow Texan.
They put him on the same gurney as Timothy McVeigh, the bomber there in Oklahoma City.
His final request was for a steak with French fries and onion rings.
It was a sad moment for everyone, because who wants to be responsible for seeing somebody else put to death?
His parting words, were he was sorry for all the damage he had done. I think he had realized it,
Juan not only ruined the lives of the people that he killed, that's obvious, but all the families of these people, and just with all the narcotics he put on the street as well. That's a real trail of misery that's caused by someone like that.